Hello to you all, and welcome to Pyramid Energy, a journey through intuition, wisdom, and loving insight. My name is Khunze. If you've journeyed with me before, welcome back, and thank you all for being here with me. I started off by checking in with your chakras, and some visions have formed. In your root chakra, your base chakra, I saw palisade fencing. And if you know what that looks like, you can see right through it, even though it protects a perimeter. To me, this is saying that as far as your stability, concerns around this topic, there's a sense that you feel exposed, that you feel seen through, okay? However, there is this protection. The protection is there, it's for sure, even though it feels like transparent. That's the word, transparent. This is telling me about a sense of vulnerability that you're experiencing around your stability. Whatever this stability is about. It could be financial. It could be feelings of safety around your work. It could be just your general comfort. Whatever it is that provides you with stability. And your idea of that. In your sacral chakra, I got clouds, which speaks to me about imagination. And so this feels very open to me. It feels like nothing is set in stone. And it's very much, especially this imagination word, is taking me straight up to your third eye, which is, I've recently found these two chakras to correspond. This is that what you see in your third eye, whether conscious of it or not, that information is transmitted to your sacral chakra. If you see that your sacral chakra is second from the bottom and your third eye chakra is second from the top, it's as if these two correspond and send messages to each other. 222. These two chakras work together. I'm speaking to as far as how we create what we decide we want to create, again, consciously or unconsciously. I'm also picking up a lot of shakiness, trembling, and I don't know what this is about, but it's telling me about an apprehension. And so for now, it feels like there's a perceived vulnerability that's taking place through not being able to clearly see where you're going. Getting to your solar plexus, I saw the sun. I saw the sun, which gave me a message of warmth, a glow about it. And I also saw an under construction sign. You know, when you walk past a building site, and there's something that formed for me here. You're walking past a building site and it says under construction. And what I saw is one of those memes, those jokes, where there are a whole lot of men sleeping, but the sign is still up and it says men at work. It's like, it feels like things don't appear the way, or things don't appear the way they feel. But this feeling of this warmth that I got is speaking to me around, they're warming your solar plexus. Your solar plexus is being warmed. It's being prepared, and energy is being put into it for purposes of transforming how you show up, your confidence. This is also your sense of self. It's speaking to me about your sense of self, which takes me back to what's happening in terms of imagination and the clouds in your sacral chakra. It's taking me to nothing is set in stone. Nothing has been decided yet. As if what you decide and come to decide that you want to create or what you want to transform needs your confidence to be in a more secure place, a more confident place to move forward before you, let me say by mistake or erroneously or unknowingly, create something that isn't adequate. to your liking. That's the sense I get. So this is actually working in your favor. So it's not to slow you down, which is how I feel it feels. And it's not to leave you feeling lost, which is what I'm feeling in this shakiness and this uncertainty that I feel, and this feeling of exposure, which has been confirmed as you are protected, even though everything feels exposed. Okay? What I'm speaking to is how, while we're manifesting, if our confidence is not aligned with where we want to be, okay, so if we don't bridge that gap, if we are unable to bridge that gap between where we are and where we want to be, we sometimes attract something that matches what we believe rather than what we want. And so we can be slowed down just to clean up and bridge that gap for purposes of more ideal manifestation. I hope I've explained that well enough. Now, what happened when I was writing down what I saw in your heart, I wrote enlargening. But I noticed, what I usually do is I draw these circles for each chakra in downwards from the top down, just to write next to them for my notes. And I noticed that the heart chakra I drew larger, which is how I got to enlargening. And this is speaking to me about heart opening. But what I feel about this heart opening, again, because of this shakiness that I feel like there's a resistance to your heart opening. And I feel like what hasn't been clarified perhaps to you yet is almost a lack of awareness or an absence of awareness around the link between some of this chaos you're feeling around you, some of this perceived sense of instability that you're feeling, not really feeling safe in your protection, completely safe, okay? Or you feel safe, but you feel exposed. That you haven't linked the instability in your relationships. I feel in surrounding areas, relationships, around the topic of stability. All of these things are also catalysts to your heart opening. And so you're meant to be affected. You're meant to feel through these things. These things are meant to bring up all of these feelings you're feeling. They're almost meant to destabilize how your heart feels. Because in that, there's a transformation happening, there's a heart expansion happening, and the reason that your heart needs to expand is for the attraction of what you are creating. And although I spoke about this thing that is not yet set in stone, there's an idea around what it is that you're transforming or you're creating. And there's an understanding around its value, its size, its extent. Yeah, the word is extent. There's an understanding around its extent. And so your heart is preparing. And this is all happening at the same time for purposes of your own transformation, to be able to grasp the complexity of the extent of that which you have asked for. I'm finding this reading hard to explain in words. I'm finding it hard to word. It's like it's forming clarity for me, but communicating it is not easy. When I got to your throat, I saw a corridor. And then as I saw this corridor, it was like empty, but then I saw the men sweeping dust out of this corridor, as if it's been given a break lately, your throat chakra, okay? So you've experienced this as an inability to communicate the way you usually do. And what's being cleared out this old dust is partly from not being used for a while, but there's also a sense that what you are going to communicate, what you are creating is something that you know. Okay, so there's a knowing. It's as if it's an ancient knowing what is coming in. And my ear just, I don't know how to explain this. My ear changed tightness. Okay, so this is an ancient form of knowledge that you know, but that has not been used for a long time, or just that idea that we're clearing this corridor to make way for this information to come through your throat. When I got to your third eye, I saw an eye, which I felt like I actually stopped and I was like, come on, give me more, please. Please give me more. And I heard repeat, I. And what that then told me was there is an observation of what is happening with your intuition. So even when you feel like it's just observation and there's nothing being observed, okay, so there's an emptiness about this. There's a vacancy about this. Yet you have not moved your gaze. And so the eye is there, but there's nobody home. That's how it feels. And I'm going to say that so far this entire reading feels ironic. All of the energy, the images versus, what's being showed versus how it feels and what's being said. It all feels almost contradictory. That's how it feels. And 1221 is telling me that there is this vision that's stabilizing, and it's in the process of reconciliation. So there's a reconciliation happening between where you are and where you want to be, and a whole lot of uncertainty that's being felt in between. And in your crown, again, I got crown, and I asked, please, can I have more? And I got crown, and they explained this to me as a cementing, making firm for the time being of your beliefs about yourself. And so this is taking all of the mindset work that you've been doing and placing your crown on your head to remind you of all these promises you've made with yourself, agreements you've made with yourself. Agreements comes through strong rather than promises. These are agreements. The difference between a promise and an agreement, the way I'm feeling it, and I need to explain it, is an agreement has a sense of alignment to it, whereas a promise feels aspirational. That's the word I'm getting. It feels like a promise is difficult to achieve, and you make the promise with the hope that you'll fulfill it without fully understanding how, but committing to fulfilling it. I just had all this emotion into me. Whereas an agreement is that you're aligned, you understand why you've said what you've said to yourself, and you know how to stick to that agreement. And even though you have not yet lived through some of these experiences where this agreement may be brought into question or just questioned, or where you need to refer to your agreement to answer yourself, you have your crown to remind you. And this crown is being brought there. It's being brought forward as, again, a reminder. And not just a reminder of your agreement, a reminder of how you came to these agreements. Because that's crucial. Because you've earned your crown. And you've earned the right to stick to your agreement with yourself, because these agreements, the ones we form with ourselves, they affect our relationships. They affect the chatter externally that we then filter and bring into our space. We are being very protective. We are being very protective over your crown. Because to get you where we want you, where you want you, and to complete this recon, we need you to be in alignment, to live in alignment, and to treat every decision as you go in accordance with your agreement with yourself and your plan with yourself. I feel like I'm in a whirlwind. I really feel like I'm in a whirlwind. And I feel like I'm expected to be still and know. That's how I feel. I feel like I don't know what's coming, but I feel like it's going to be good. It's going to be fine. I feel like I will be fine. And I feel slightly apprehensive. I feel afraid. I'm going to say I feel afraid. And I feel reminded to just come back to the present. Especially because I already know that I'm fine. And I know this is what I want. Even though walking through this corridor is not easy. I'm taken back to notes that I made a couple of days ago. And what I wrote about the throat here is, your throat is telling me that there's an insecurity about how others will feel about what you want to say. Stay open in these moments, because this is where you discover the magic of honesty in expression. Apprehension is a sign of the times, and you'll find that what you have to say is what people need to hear. There is a desperate call for this kind of expression, and when you feel pushed back, notice this as a projection of unrecognized desperation. And then I wrote, before awareness is integrated, there is a resistance against the information that has been called from you. This is why we encourage saying how you feel before you know it is true. Only once awareness is integrated can feelings begin to align with truth. It is important to understand that when the heart is balanced and open, it is receptive to everything you want to create. It attracts the opportunities from source and from the environment. Opportunity meets action in awareness. You see it, you believe it, you say it, you feel it, you create it. 1818. This is a confidence building cycle, because the next time information presents itself, your awareness is stronger, opportunities become more frequent. And when I go back to all my notes on your chakras, this feels like the reason why you're only seeing an eye. It's like you're being taught how to trust. And you're being given a lot of distance from proved knowing, from evidence, to kind of force you back to listen to yourself and listen to your chatter and observe your environment and remind yourself of your agreement and remind yourself where you belong, and to come back to yourself and to come back to the present. The present being the moment where we create. And these feelings of uncertainty are what is assisting to open your heart, because feelings like fear need to be felt. It's not so much that we need to just not fear. It's that we need to get used to what we do when we encounter fear. Because in any new level of unknown, we'll encounter fear. And so because fear can be so stifling, we need to learn how to deal with it inside, to be able to move through uncertainty. And we need to become comfortable with uncertainty to be able to reach the extents of what we have asked for. I have 2020 on the clock, and this is speaking to me about judgment. And so this is where you're being called to really face yourself in ways you have never really before. This to me speaks to how much you've integrated. Okay, so there's a knowledge of how much you've integrated, but this is now a test of yourself. I think we've all encountered tests that we encounter externally. But I mention integration because it's in this moment of judgment that you are facing yourself and your agreements with yourself. And with the world being the next card, this is very much speaking to me about closing of a cycle, the closing of a major cycle in your life. And I feel like this kind of judgment is so different to how the judgment card usually shows up for me. And I'm referring to what I said about facing yourself and being tested against your own agreements with yourself, to clean up, to really clean up, because then we have the world, which is, again, the closing of a cycle, and then straight after that is the beginning of the tarot's journey, which is the Fool. And so you're preparing to take that fall, to take that jump. And it's interesting that I used the word fall, because falling, we often use this word with an expectation that we will hit the ground. And what I just got is, yes, we're going to hit the ground running. That's what I got. Nice. And I have 2222 on the clock. This is all taking me back to these words that you are your own creator. Because this is what happens. And so now we're moving through this uncertainty, and I can feel how difficult it is. I can actually feel it's uncomfortable. That's the word I should be using, is I can feel your discomfort and your restlessness. Okay? Because I'm speaking to someone who is deeply intuitive. And so to have this intuition there, I have the eye and the third eye, and I see it clearer now. Your intuition is there. However, what comes, what the eye is seeing is not being shown to you. So all you can see is your eye. You can see that you can see, but what needs to be seen and what you want to see, okay, which is actually, you don't want to see it, because that would be counterproductive in terms of what is trying to be achieved here. But you can't see anything further. You have no sight of what the eye sees, and you just have a knowing of where the eye is sort of sending you into this unknown that you need to trust and know more. And what I'm getting is that, if you were actually to be showed what it is you're going to do, not how it's going to feel, but what it is you're going to do and what's going to be expected of you, this expectation will scare you away from what you want, which is what you've asked for, which is what you're creating. And in order to achieve this creation and to get to this part of yourself and to learn this part of yourself and to meet this part of yourself, it's asking for a lot of trust, and it's asking for a lot of preparation. And I believe that's why they showed me this open-ended sort of third eye idea and these words around your throat and the relationship between your throat and keeping your heart open and building your confidence. Because often when we want to express something, we want this surety of what we're going to express. We want to know. However, the message today here is that it won't serve you to know what it is you're creating. What will serve you is knowing that what you want to create is available, is only available in the moment of awareness, which is where you need to take action. So you need to take action in the point of awareness. And I'm now seeing the gap. I feel like you're used to checking first. There's a whole process that you're used to, using your intuition, using your third eye, and making sure that the opportunity is available before you take action. And they're saying that you're going to need to take action in the point of awareness. That's the only time that the truth will be revealed to you. This is some serious boot camp. This is some serious intuition, co-creation boot camp, okay? But I just got this imagery tying a lot of this together because I saw this imagination, I saw the clouds in your sacral chakra, so that's where you're creating, okay? So when you say you want to create something, so you see it, you believe it, you say it, you feel it, you create it. So you see it in your third eye, it's immediately created when you have built yourself to that confidence point. So if you can find your confidence point and settle in it, where we saw the sun in your solar plexus, where they're trying to warm your comfort in terms of showing up. You know, when the sun comes out, the clouds part. And so the time that you think it's going to take to reveal this creation is actually, that gap of time is way narrower than what you're imagining. Because all this needs is this sun to warm up and for you to be open, okay? For you to be open, and immediately the clouds will part and your creation will appear. And the way I just used my hands for appear, it's as if I just rolled out in front of me a little red carpet. And so that is it. I have more notes that I wrote here. I wrote, lasting truth that gives you a competitive advantage. And when I wrote these, I didn't understand these words really. I didn't. But what I'm understanding right now is that what's coming through you is something that's only meant for you. Okay? Then I wrote, things are shifting gradually but surely. Even though you can't see it, we are leaving disappointments behind and manifestations are coming into fruition. This is referring to some of the bigger plans you previously set for yourself. The world. At the time I got the world card, and I did mention the world earlier. That's why we explained awareness as a healer. Because the dark is dynamic. Some of it can be perceived and some of it cannot. It's twofold. And this is speaking to me about your shadow and this idea that there is certain information about yourself and a certain embodiment of yourself that is only available through your shadow. And this is the shadow that we're tackling, this part of you that has been placing your sense of security in knowing, which is something that has been holding you back, because what you want and what you've asked for sits in the unknown. I've pulled an oracle card, and the card I have here is courage, strength, fierceness, family. Number 2. And what I'm noticing already here is this lion speaking to me, obviously about courage, but speaking to me about protection. And I'm also seeing her crown that she's wearing. This protection I'm mentioning as well, because that's where we started off with this reading, is that you're protected. And if you look at her, she's looking at us, the lion's looking at us. She can't actually see the lion, she can feel it. So she knows the lion is there. And she's wearing her crown as well, as if it's the lion that's crowning her. And the lion also becomes a part of her crown and allows her to believe in her protection and to believe in her courage. The card says, the lion looks ahead to the time before him with a tranquil courage, ready for anything. He reveals that an important event is on the horizon for you. A situation may require that you summon up your courage and perhaps even take a few risks. The lion is known as the king of beasts because of his mighty roar and regality. This situation facing you may involve direct action or strong communication of some sort. You must have the courage to express your truth and make your desires known, and to take action on your own behalf, no matter what or whom you're dealing with. The word courage comes from the French word for heart. This card is telling you that even if you have felt uncertain or frightened in the past, you now have the strength of heart to face your life with self-actualized clarity. Whether it's regarding a relationship or a situation at work or at home, the action you engage in or expression of your truth now will be blessed by the purity of your own divine heart. The lion is a social animal that lives in family groups, so on a practical level, this card may be sending a message regarding that experience. You may need to care for a family member or encourage them to take greater care of themselves. A new member of the family may also be coming your way. Affirmation: I bring the courage of my soul to all the issues of my life. I stand in my true power now and always. In this reading, we were really talking about the relationship with yourself. And the number 2 on this card reinforced that for me. And so where it says, you may need to care for a family member or encourage them to take greater care of themselves, this is referring to you. And I feel like it's referring to some of your base needs. I feel like it's talking to just caring for yourself and not forgetting to care for yourself in this space where you feel so much uncertainty, because some of these things can tend to suffer in those moments. And where it says a new member of the family may also be coming your way, this can be interpreted very much at face value in terms of a new child or whatever that is. But immediately as I read those words, I saw a new creation or the transformation of an existing creation coming into your life to stay. And where it speaks of this being a family member, it feels like you're going to be in very close relationship with this creation or this transformed creation, and there's a sense of continued care that will be applied to it, and a reciprocal care. And so it will care for you and you will care for it. So it's very important new relationship coming into your life, which I believe is the creation we've been talking about this entire time. I've got these Moonology cards in front of me and I'm shuffling them, and I usually split the deck first, and when I split the deck I meant to split it into 2 and it actually split into 3. I have Work Through Your Fears, New Moon in Scorpio. And this is the full moon in Scorpio that we're moving towards. That's actually why I pulled out these cards. These are my full moon cards. And with Scorpio being about death and rebirth, this is the phase of your life that you're entering, closing this cycle. It's as if you are snipping away at these parts of you that you've confirmed no longer belong and that are getting in the way of you taking this leap. And so this speaks to the intentionality that you're being asked to use to actually deal with this in what I feel like is a very, I want to say tumultuous, but also very silent time. I feel like you've been fighting a silent battle. That's how I felt. And you're very close to achieving your goal. Gibbous Moon. And the last card I have here is Conclusions Are Within Reach, Full Moon Eclipse. And what's interesting is that as I pulled out these cards and I was asking myself, why am I using these full moon cards? I should rather use them on the full moon. But then I got the words shadow of the full moon. And so I looked up what shadow of the full moon means because, my moon knowledge is not excellent. And in my mind somehow, I thought that the shadow of the full moon is this time before the full moon. But when I looked it up, it talks about the time during an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, when the moon is in its shadow. It says here, it occurs when the earth passes between the sun and the moon, casting its shadow on the lunar surface. And so this really speaks to me around, in this case, can completely shift how you see something that you were once afraid of, just by temporarily eradicating your vision of that unknown that you can usually see. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. I sincerely appreciate your company, your participation, and your engagement. I'm going to do an extended for this reading. Something came up along the way and I just felt like it was going totally left. It's got to do with a problem you've been meaning to solve, like a burden that's played out in your life for an extended period. And it's about this coming to a close and has to do with someone immature who's made some poor decisions. It probably won't be about them. I actually don't know what it's going to be about. I haven't done it yet. And if you're not joining me for the extended, again, thank you so much. And you'll only join, obviously, if you feel called in this direction and even if you've listened this long. And if you don't decide to join or can't, please trust that. Sending you love.